Hello, everyone. This is Ken from Keystroke, and today's webinar is going to be on Link2forms. Link2forms is an easy-to-use online forms and survey tool that feeds the results instantly into ACT and allows you to report on the results quickly and easily. At the risk of oversimplifying, the purpose of forms and surveys is basically twofold. One, it's to gather information from people so you can make smarter and better informed decisions. And two, it's to create a lead generation engine that helps you grow your business. And that's how we're going to be focusing on Link2forms, because we believe that Link2forms achieves both those objectives while making you look good doing it. So for today's webinar, what we're going to be doing is demonstrating how simple and fast it is to build forms of really any complexity that you can seamlessly incorporate into your website or serve as freestanding forms or surveys that you can email your customers include in social media. So we're actually going to be playing with live ammo today. I'm actually going to be creating forms, and we're going to be incorporating them right into our website, and you're going to see me do that. But to start, we've got several sample forms here on our Link2forms page. If you want to find out how to get to this page, just go here, Linktivity products, and then Link2forms. So if you scroll down, you're going to see this is one of our sample quote request forms. Okay, we're actually going to make a service request form as part of the more complex forms that we build today. Okay, so we've got this. This is using the Link2forms service, and then over here we've got what we call a CTA, or a call to action, which we can insert anywhere. And this is using a different design format called compact. And we've got this inserted here, and you can see both have the CAPTCHA in them. And this is I'm going to show you how we do this, but this is actually filling them in as iframes into the page layout in the background. So this is taking a single column. This is taking, I believe this is 8 columns wide. Okay, but there's other ways that you can incorporate forms into a website, and I've included them with 2 buttons here. So the 2 ways that you can do it is, one is included in a light box where you just click on it and it will pop up like this, and this is the same form as you see here. Okay, and then the other one is to go full page. Okay, where it just opens up the full URL and you see it as a freestanding form. Okay, now to continue down the page, we've got some subscription information here, including the system requirements and subscription details. And then you can go through here. I'm not going to go through, we've got a lot to cover today, but here's some of the high level, really important features of Link2forms that we think make it really unique. Okay, and then here's a breakdown of this, how to set up forms. And then what we're going to do is, here's a video on how to set this up. We're actually going to be taking the recording from today, and hopefully by tomorrow inserting it in here. So if you want to go back and take a look at this, we'll not only email it out to you, but we'll be posting it right here. Okay, and then further down the page, we've got a bunch of screenshots, which I'm going to show you in real time, so we're not going to get into those. But that's where you can go back and reference it. And then up here, we've got the price, trial period information, trial link, licensing type, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's get into it. So what we're going to do today, we're going to go over to the Linktivity website, linktivity.net, and we're going to create 2 types of forms today. One is going to be similar to this, using the compact style, and the other one is going to be similar to this. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the fast method for creating a form with this, where we just simply clone and edit an existing form, and then we're going to build this one from scratch. Okay, so starting with that, we're going to go to the Linktivity page, linktivity.net. We're going to click on My Account. Okay, now normally you'd get a login screen. I've been going in and out of this all day long, so it's cached. But now I'm actually in my account. Now, last week during the Link to Calendar, I covered the API settings, general settings, and manage subscriptions. I'm not going to do that today because we're going to focus specifically on the Link2forms features. We do have videos available on YouTube, on Vimeo, and I'll show you the video page elsewhere. We've got them posted where you can learn more about these details. But for today's purposes, we're going to go straight to Link2forms. Okay, and these are a list of all the current forms that I've got. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to create one where it's just very, very simple question that I want to insert into the home page. Okay, that just asks people to, do you have any simple questions? They don't have to go through chats, they don't have to call, they don't have to email, they can just quickly submit it, and we're going to show you how much you can build into that. And what we're going to do is we put a little placeholder. Here's our home page, and we've got have a question. Okay, have a question is right now, it's a dead link. And what we're going to do is we're going to build a really simple form, and I'm going to show you how to take an existing form to show you how quickly we can clone an existing form, make some changes to it, save it, and go. So I've got this last one here. We're going to click on this. I'm going to click on duplicate form. Okay, and I'm going to just say home questions. Now, it says create link and group for this form because whenever you create a form, every single respondent, okay, that fills out the form online will be added to this group that Link2forms automatically creates. So they're going to add it to that, and if the person is new, like let's say you're putting on your website or social media or something and they're new to your database, it will create that contact and add them to the group. So based on this question, don't put in any spaces or anything like that. It's going to create a group with this name. So I'm going to click on create form. Okay, now at this point, it's already made. That group exists in the ACT database, which I'm going to show you later. Now, right off the bat, Linktivity will assign you a long and ugly alphanumeric address. So it's app.linktivity.net, form sign up, and then this. Now, obviously, we don't expect anyone to remember this. So what we've done is we've created a simple human-friendly way or human-friendly name that you can add here, and we're just going to call it home question. And we're going to click on validate just to confirm that the form that we want, the name is available. So I'm going to click on this, and it says your URL is available. And now watch what happens when I click on save. Now this has been replaced here. So this is my new form, okay? So it's called forms.linktivity.net/question, home question, okay? So very, very easy to remember. Now, I'm going to blitz through some of this because I'm going to do the second one in a little bit more detail, so we won't go line by line. But what I want to do is I want to add a graphic to this for this form, and I'm just going to put in do a quick search, and this is our logo. Okay, I'm just going to put in this one. Now, if you're interested, the maximum dimensions of a logo that you use in a form is it can't be more than 200 pixels high, okay? It will fill the entire container for the graphic. So if you've got a long horizontal graphic, it will fit in as much space as what it will do is it will auto size down, but it won't stretch the image or distort it and reduce it to lower resolution. So what will happen is now when you got a circle image, then you know that it's going to be 200 by 200. But if you've got a long wide image, then it will be suppressed so that the height can't be more than 200. Okay. Now what I've done here is I've kind of pre-populated some text in here so that I can I don't have to type this in here, but I've just put in an introductory sentence here at the beginning to say that I want to what are your questions? How can we help? Okay. Column count. Now, what I want to do is just kind of going back to the Link2forms here, you can see that this is 2 columns wide. So I got 1 and 2, and then some of these are stretch across the full width. So this is 1 column, this is 1 column, this is 2 column. That's what it means by that. Okay, so in this case, I've selected 2 columns because I want to keep some of the contact fields smaller and not stretch all the way across. As I said, I'm going to kind of blitz through some of this. I'm going to hide the page title. I'm going to hide the footer. The footer is basically a bit of advertising. The page title is basically the name here, okay, which isn't very attractive. I'm going to cover some of this later, okay? But what I want to do is, because I'm going to put this have a question on my homepage, I want to make sure that none of the submissions are missed. So what I can do is I can actually say, click here to automate a follow-up. So what this means is, and if I put 0, then it's going to create a timeless activity for my record manager in my ACT database instantly, like within seconds. It's going to have a timeless activity. I'm going to select the activity type, okay, and I've got all my available activity types because it's accessing my database in real time through the Act Web API, so it knows all the kinds of custom activities that I've got. Okay, so I've selected to do. Now, just a word of caution: one of the things we discovered during our testing is call has an ID number 0, and we found that if you select call, sometimes the type can switch. So if you need to do a call, we created a custom activity called sales call. You can do the same, or you can just call it a to do. Just understand, if you select call, you may get unexpected results. So now I'm going to click on save. Okay, and I'm curious to see what it looks like so far, so I'm going to click on preview. And I was like, okay, that's not too bad. Not crazy about the background, but so far so good. I've got subject, but I need to have a question here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the contact fields, just make sure that everything is good. I've got the full name, email, company. I don't like making company a required field. I'll show you how to edit that later, just because some people may be responding personally. Phone and city, okay? And again, I didn't put in the city as required. I don't need to make any changes, but if I wanted to add a field, I can do that, and I'm going to show you how to do that when we do the bigger survey. So now I'm going to go to questions. Now, questions here, because of the format, you'll see here, I have selected the compact, actually the default, let me just check here. Yeah, I've selected this. What I'll stick with that, and that way you can actually see the headers here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this format. So it's a little bit more compact in design. Okay, perfect. So now I've automatically made my background disappear, which is what I wanted, but I need to change the question. So you can see I don't have the space, so I can actually just quickly disable these, because these now are no longer showing in the compact format that I've used. That's how easy it is. You don't need to go into them and edit them individually to disable you, and just click on each one. Okay, and I just want to make sure that these reflect what I need. Now, I actually want to have a drop down because I want the person to say subject and select. So I'm going to say drop down type of question. Okay, the field label is going to be subject, which is what I want. Now, what I'm going to do, just for the sake of time, I'm going to make sure that it is a mandatory question. And now I'm just going to paste in my questions. All I did was just copy and paste here. But you just type them in, do a hard return. Okay. However, I realize that I may not have covered all the different subjects that someone could be inquiring about. So what I want to do here is I've got two options. One, allow multiple selections, which doesn't really make sense in this case, but I'm going to put in allow free-form text input. Okay, and what this is basically, it's the other option in a drop-down. So you can either select from one of the drop-downs, okay? But what this does in ACT parlance is it switches the field from limit to list to list and freeform, okay? Now you'll notice, watch what happens here. See how this answer hint here? Watch what happens when I click this. Please type in your answer or select from drop-down list. That's what the answer hit is, and it will automatically populate. So now that subject is the way I like it. I'm just gonna click on save to make sure I don't lose anything. And now I'm gonna click on add a question. Now, basically what I wanna do is I wanna add a memo field. Okay, open-ended. Okay. Okay, and that's it. I'm gonna put in input required, and I'm gonna say span both the columns. And now I'm done with my form. Let's take a look at it. There it is. Nice and simple. Okay, you can see that the subject here, okay, I've got a quick drop down. I can also just type something in. Okay, I can do any of that. And then I've got my submit, I've got my CAPTCHA, I've got everything. So perfect. So how do I get this into my website? Well, I got to go back to the general. Okay, and as I said, I'm going to insert this here as a hyperlink. Okay, and it's going to pop up like that form I showed you earlier, the Lightbox format. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say copy URL. Okay, because you could see here the form URL. I'm going to copy that, and now I'm going to go to the home page, and this is our back end. We use Joomla, so I'm just going to click on here. Come on. Okay, and now I'm going to go into have a question, and I'm going to scroll down. You don't need to know any of this. This is unique to our website. I'm going to paste this in. Okay, none of the things are going to change. Now we've got a little CSS code called Liddy-open. That just makes it pop up in a modal up front. Okay. Now I've incorporated a form into the page. Now let's see what it looks like. It's waiting for it to save. It's saved. Now let's go back. Hit Control 5. Okay, and now let's see what happens. Okay, and now I've got my form right here. But one thing I've noticed right off the bat, the big graphic here actually makes part of the page, the form run off the page. So why don't we just go back, edit the form, remove, save, go back, just do a quick test. Look, that's gone. Let's see how it looks like now. Much nicer. You get all the information on one screen. That's how fast it is. Okay, so let's see the results of this. So I'm going to put in Chris Huffman and chris.huffman at keystroke.ca. Company, we'll just QC. Its phone number, as you can see, is mandatory. Put in Toronto. Now I can either click here. I'm going to say, and I'm going to put in, let's see, what does Victor Cron actually do at keystroke? It's an enduring question. I tell you, that's vexed most of the staff here. So I'm going to click on I'm not a robot, and I'm going to click on submit. So you can see it working, because what it's doing is it's actually not like a form it's writing to the back end. It's actually writing into your database. And I'm going to show you that working in 1 second. Now it's done. So we click on close. Okay, and now let's bring over, here's Chris Huffman. Okay, I'm just going to click on refresh. Here's the home question. You could see all the results. All of these have been written to history. Okay, you can see general inquiry. What does Vic actually do at keystroke? Okay, and what also we've got here is, I'm just going to see, go over to my email. And see that I have the question emailed to me instantly. So what does Vic actually do? Blah, blah, blah. So I get alerted by email. I get alerted, I get it added to the history. Okay, and I'm going to just bring this up. And let's see what else. Remember I said that I wanted to have that added to my calendar. Okay, well, you can see here, timeless activity. Let's just drill into this. Okay, follow-up questions with Chris Huffman, details. Okay, what does Vic actually do? Okay, well, I'm gonna need a bit more time on that because that's not an easy question. So I'm gonna push it to the next day. I'll probably be in the same dilemma tomorrow as well, but for now I pushed it off. Okay, that's how fast it can work. So you create the question, they fill it out, you get emailed the results automatically, and let's see what happens. We'll go down to do a quick search of the group. Okay, here it is, and you can see Chris Huffman was added to the group. So Linktivity made a group automatically within the Linktivity forms. Okay, made the group here, the subgroup, and the moment that Chris Huffman completed the form, he got added into it. It got recorded to history. Okay, an email got notified, and it got added to my calendar as a follow-up. Pretty fantastic workflow, all within seconds. And that's the power of the API. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back here, close my email. Okay, so now we've gone through that. Now let me just quickly explain. The web API is available to anyone that is subscribing to ACT. So hopefully the people that are on this call are subscribers to ACT. If you're not, if you're using Pro or if you're an off-plan premium user with a perpetual license, then we have built the Keystroke API, otherwise known as CAPI, okay? And you can read more about that on our website. But that's our proprietary add-on API. Doesn't do anything for AMA or doesn't add additional functionality within ACT. It's strictly for interacting with our add-ons. Okay, so just want to explain how that works. Now, we've created a duplicate form. Okay, I've shown you how it all works and interacts. But now that we've got this, okay, I want to build something a little bit more involved. So what I'm going to show you here is this is our existing service request form. It's using a standard form within Joomla. I'm not particularly a big fan of it. I don't think it looks terribly attractive. I think we're giving up way too much real estate here for field labels. So what I want to do is I want to incorporate this, okay, right into, I want to incorporate our form that we're going to build right now right into this iframe. And I'm going to show you how to build the form and then incorporate it into the web page. Okay, so the first thing is we're going to go back here. Since we're done with that, now, instead of doing the duplication, which you saw is super fast, we're going to create new form. Okay, and I just want to make sure I've got my fields here. Okay, and we're going to call this service request. Okay, so we now know that that group is created within ACT. Okay, I'm going to paste this here, validate. Groovy, that's available, so I'm going to save it. So that name is now mine, okay? You can see here that I can browse for images, but I'm not going to put an image because I'm actually going to put it in an iframe, which would make it tougher to kind of fit into the color theme. Okay, I don't need to put any introductory text because again, I'm going to be incorporating it into here, so I don't need to do anything. Okay, and I want it to be 2 columns wide. Okay, because I've got enough space here to make it 2 columns wide. I don't want to have the title service request without a space here. I don't want to be advertising Linktivity. Okay, now what are these about? What are the submission options? Well, sometimes you're going to circulate internal forms or surveys, and you're going to be soliciting employees' feedback, or you're going to be putting out or polling election results or whatever. You may want to actually make sure that any of the people who reply, their answers are not publicly visible to all users in the database. So what this means is that it will be private to the record manager, and he'll be the only one that can see the results. Now, in the event that you are actually doing a poll or you're doing some kind of election or a survey, and you want to make sure that someone doesn't, you know, submit multiple responses, then you can do both these. So I'm going to say I just want to prevent multiple responses. I don't care about the history. I actually want the history to be private because I want the other technicians to be able to see it. Okay. Actually, you know what? In this case, there may be people that want to have multiple service requests. Now, what is really key here is that I want to have the follow-up activity. Okay. And as I said, don't use the call. Okay. And I'm going to just select, let's see. Let's see here. Act service. Perfect. Okay. So now I'm going to click on change. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to go to the contact fields. And I want to select what's available. Now, this is a lot. Okay. Guys, honestly, less is more when you're asking people to type. Okay. So instead of, you don't have to go into edit each one. You can just click here, 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 address. Okay. I would say these at most. So full name, email, company, okay, phone, and city. City you can even opt out of because you can look that up, but it really depends on what kind of industry you're in. You may, location might be a little bit more important. So that may actually drive the address as well. But I want to make sure that company is not mandatory. So I'm going to click here. Okay. Now, all of these fields are going to be mapped to their corresponding ACT field. So things like phone and that is pretty straightforward. However, I may want to actually say, while you're here, do you want to subscribe to our newsletter? Okay, I'm going to select checkbox, subscribe to our newsletter. This is a sample. It's not a recommendation. I think this is a unfortunate time to ask. So here is where I'm putting this in. And now what field do I want to map? When I click here, it's going to automatically filter to only the checkboxes in my database, so the checkbox fields. So I've got a newsletter field, okay? And I'm going to select this. And I'm not going to use this to look up because I'm obviously not going to make a checkbox something that can be used for dupe checking. Okay, I'm going to keep this to one column. And I'm going to click on here, and now this is mapped. So if they click on yes, this will automatically check the box. Okay, now currently, and by currently I mean today, this would only work if you were adding a new contact. If it recognized it as an existing contact, that checkbox would not work. We are in the process, and by process I mean today or tomorrow, of adding a feature where you can actually update an existing contact. But we're going to be adding a field here, our column here, which would say, overwrite data. So what you may want to do is not have any of these selected as overwrite data, and then have the subscribe to newsletter, okay, be one that can overwrite the data, okay? And then the second part would be, you don't want to have a blank checkbox overwriting an existing checkbox. So in that case, you would we're building in the feature where a blank data can't overwrite field data. Okay, so all of that's going to be coming in the next 48 hours. Just couldn't get it done in time for this demo, but it's fairly straightforward to understand. Now, in this case, this is a silly field, so I'm actually just going to delete it. I'm going to click on save. Okay, and I want to do a quick preview. Okay, this is kind of what I'm looking for. This is not the compact format, so it's got section headers. Okay, and now I want to go to my questions. Now this is where we're actually going to see, some really decent structure here. Okay, now the first thing you're going to hear is, you saw here with I've got contact details and questions. So the questions was inserted in here as a section header. So that's a field type. Okay, and now what I want to do is any new form, it gives you several sample questions. They don't expect you which of the following fruits have you tried or anything like that, but just automatically deploying several different field types. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to edit it. We know, let's go with, let's start with a drop-downs, perfect one. Okay, and we're going to say, this is a service request, okay, category. Okay, and I've got some ones in here. I'm going to paste them in. Okay, I'm going to make this required Outlook integration, act not launching, okay, so on and so forth, third-party add-ons. So a fairly good list, and I'm going to allow people to select multiple choices here. I'm also going to say, well, this is a good list, but it may not be exhaustive. So let's allow people to overwrite, and you'll see this this little answer hint automatically get populated. This is a fairly long question with lots, so I'm going to make sure that it goes 2 columns wide. This allows me on iPad. This allows me on the mobile. However, I'm going to show you, just generally leave these blank, because what's going to happen is that when you're viewing it on mobile, and I'll show you that in a bit, it's going to stack all the questions in one column anyway, so you don't really need to populate those. Okay, so now I've got category, and I'm going to go here. I'm going to edit this one, and I'm going to say drop down again, and we're going to say act deployment, web, Windows. Okay, and that's an exhaustive list, so I don't need to. I'm going to say that one is a single column. Okay, and then the next question is what act version? Again, that is going to be another check, another drop down, and I'm just say it's your act version, input required, and I'm just going to put in act v20, act v21, and now I can actually just do some copying and pasting here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm not going to allow multiple selections, but in this case, I'm going to allow freeform, because I don't want to be updating this each and every year, so that if people want to put in a newer version that's on this list or an older version, then they can just freeform type into here. Okay, now we're going to add, we've gone through these available ones, the samples. I'm going to add a priority. Okay, drop down, so that my technicians will know, you know, how serious the issue is. Okay, obviously I don't need to clear any of these. One column is more than sufficient, and we are almost done. Now let's just add a memo field, which is open-ended. Okay, and now I'm going to make sure this is definitely 2 columns. Okay, I'm going to apply. Here I'm going to show you one more thing that we just added this week. I want them to upload screenshots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on add a question, and I'm going to say include a file upload. Okay, please submit screenshot. And I'm not going to make it required because they may not have it, but I want to say what kind of format. So I'm going to put in PDF. I'm going to put in, let's see, PNG and JPEG. I think that's probably, I'm not going to put, I like to avoid Word, to be honest, just because there's so many scripts that can be put in. Okay, and I think that is, oh, I'm going to add a GIF just in case. Okay, So now that I'm going to make that one column because it's not really that big of a file. Now, if I don't like the order of these, I can just drag these around, but the order makes sense to me. Actually, I'm going to put the priority up here. Okay, and now I'm going to save. Let's do a quick preview. Okay, not a bad looking form, very straightforward, very professional looking. Okay, you can see here which are the mandatory fields and which are not. Okay, now I'm going to select the appearance type. Right now, the default one is selected. Previously, you saw compact, and that removed all section headers. Okay, and then here is a printable format. Let's just see what that actually looks like. See? And you can even print the form that way. Not sure how many people would need that, but it's nice to know that that option is available. So I'm going to click here. Now, when you click here, it's showing you the format, and you're thinking, okay, I don't like the background colors. That doesn't entirely work for me. So I'm going to go into the customize style. Okay, this is where you can really, really get granular. Okay, so the background color, you can either type in the code. Right now it's 6Es. I'm going to say I want it to be transparent. So I want it to fit into whatever format I'm going to be applying it to. Okay, it's showing you the form width. It's showing the form border. I don't want a border, so I'm just going to say, okay, that's 0. Okay, obviously the border color with no width doesn't really make a difference. I can say form color. Now in this case, right now, when I click on save and I go back here, you're going to see the gray background disappear, but the form background is still there. I actually like that because it actually provides some nice contrast. Okay. However, how is that going to look in this? Not terribly good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, let's go the form color. I'm going to go transparent again. Okay. And let's do refresh. And now you can see it. Now, if you're curious to see what it will look like in mobile, it will look like that. It will stack it up. Okay. And you'll be able to see it that way in mobile. Okay. So now we've done our form. I don't think, and you can see here, you've got the choose files. If the person checks any file other than what is supported, you can see PDF, PNG, it actually lists the types that you've got. Okay, then it won't accept them. Okay, so we've got this form here ready to go, pretty much cover. We can check, see this is the multi-select. Okay, priority was single select, act deployment. Okay, I put in multi-select because with web and Windows, you can actually have both. Which version, single select. Okay, but you can see I can also say, Act 2000 if I wanted. Okay, probably wouldn't support that, and then remove that. Okay, so I'm satisfied with this. Let's see how it fits into the form. Okay, so now I'm going to just do one final save, and I'm going to go back to general. Now, previously, when I inserted into that button, okay, I just needed the URL because I was actually just popping up the form in full page mode, okay? And we've actually already seen it in full page mode already. But what we're doing here is we are building it into this page as an iframe, okay? So that's a little different. So what we need to do is we need to actually get the iframe code to fit in there. Now, where do we get that? Well, we do it all for you. So we click on embed code, and it immediately creates this the code that you can copy and paste right into your website. Okay, so if I want to do that, and what this is going to do is it's going to auto adjust the width. You can see 100%. It's going to auto adjust the height. It's going to make sure everything fits. You can see the iframe parameters here. So now I'm going to click on copy code. Okay, and I'm going to move this off the screen, and I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to close the home page here. The home page is the beefiest page on the website, so it always takes a long time. I'm just going to click on service. Here's my service request. Now, as I said, this part of the demo, take it for what it's worth. This is our web page, so this is going to be different if you've got a WordPress backend, a Drupal backend, or you're using Joomla with a different editor, whichever. There's going to be different ways of doing it. I believe WordPress actually has an iframe module that you can put in. What we're going to do here, I'm just going to disable this now because I'm not going to use this Joomla module anymore. And I'm going to add what's called raw HTML, okay? And you can see the raw HTML here, and I'm just going to paste in my code. And I'm going to, I don't think I have to put in, yep, I don't have to put in any other details, okay? I could put in a title here, but that's kind of getting more into Joomla, so I'm going to leave that alone. I'm just going to check on my padding. Padding is fine. And now I'm going to click on save. Okay, so let's take a look. And now it's fully incorporated into our web page. So now I think everyone will agree that this information is used far more efficiently. The field layout is used more efficiently. There's not some god-awful amount of white space being used for field labels. Everything's more conservative or more efficient in its space use. You can see which are the mandatory fields. I even have room for one more here. If I wanted, I can even put in spaces here, but now I've got everything, okay? And the nice thing is I can even tweak this in real time. So let's say I go back here. Okay, I'm actually gonna bring this form over here. And I wanna say, well, let's try a border now. I'm going to say border color. Now, I know the colors of our website, so I don't expect anyone else to care. And now I'm going to put in 2. Okay, now if you wanted, you can also just click on here and use the color palette or put in custom colors. I know the RGB codes, so I can do it myself. And now I can click here and see what it looks like with a border. Oh, wrong. Service request. See what it looks like with a border. Okay. Now, I'm going to say for the sake of this, I kind of like it framed like this, so I'm going to leave it alone. And you can see that it has filled 100% of the width. Everything is fine. There's no elevator bar here, so it's sized it appropriately in height as well. Okay, and now it's incorporated into my website. Obviously, I'm using matching color codes, so I've done everything that I needed to do to make sure that it fit in nicely with this, with the look and feel of the web page. Okay, so I'm going to pause at this moment before we go into surveys and see if there are any questions. Vic, any questions?
Yes, there are a couple of questions. Can you just review where the recordings will be and where the one was from last week?
Okay, so the recordings, okay, scroll down here, keystroke training videos. This is where we keep them, and we just go into keystroke product videos, and we'll make sure that they're all here. So I'll make sure that we've got the updates from last week and this week will be here. But please note, anyone that, glad to see we've got this here, anyone that is signed up for this webinar or anyone that's on our newsletter list, we'll be sending you out next week's webinar notice on Tuesday, and at the bottom of that, we'll have the video for today. Okay, so just look for that in your inbox on Tuesday at 10 o'clock Eastern time. It will go out, it's already scheduled, and it will have the video of today, just like this week's email had the video from last week's webinar. Okay, any other questions?
All right, so one other question is kind of a joint one, and I think you probably covered this. Make sure how to show how to attach a document, and can't you add any type of document?
You could, well, you determine what the kind of document you can add. So you click on here, and you can add in the ones that you selected. Okay, so you can see here PDF, PNG, all of the ones that I selected. You can turn around if you are an HR recruiter, and you can say, I want PDFs and Word files, whatever is appropriate. Obviously, with screenshots, it's better to have people send the image rather than send images embedded into Word documents that are tougher to resize, okay, and to kind of expand and see the details of. So you can control, as I showed you here, go to the questions, please complete screenshot, edit. Here's where I selected all the formats. If you try to save this, click on apply without any of these formats, you'll get an error message, okay, because it's obviously requiring it. Okay, does that answer the question?
Great, thank you. Yes, it does, and thank you, and that's it for the questions.
Okay, good. So that is great. Inputting it into, having the data input into your database is great. The calls to actions I love, because you can basically, put it in a product page, put it in a service page, put it in whatever, and you immediately get notified when people complete a form. But what if you wanted to do a real survey, and you wanted to analyze the results in some kind of intelligent, elegant, friendly way? Well, obviously, when you're doing things like this, okay, it's not so much as a survey, it's a case by case one. So you don't care about the aggregate results. But if you sent out a survey, like, I'm going to bring this back over here. Let's go to Link2forms. Okay, now I did a survey when I was to all the Keystroke partners, a survey that I asked them to complete so we can show the results on. So you can see here, and I kind of raced past this earlier, but when you're on your form list, these are all the options you've got for each. So when you click on here, this will allow you to view the form. So what it's going to do, it's going to launch the URL. This will copy the URL. Okay, here's what shows the results in graphical format as well as KPIs. I'm going to get to that in a minute. This allows you to edit, and I showed you the duplicate form, okay, which is a real time saver. You can basically create a different form for every single product page that you wanted. Okay, now if you're thinking, well, I'm not sure I need a form, well, let me just show you. Every single person with a website that has a contact us page, which is pretty much everyone, should have a form in here, okay? If you're asking anyone to fill out information for a follow-up, even as simple as a contact us page, then you better have the back end, the systems in place to make sure that you don't miss those responses, because there's nothing worse than going out and trying to harvest leads and having your workflow just kind of abort them before they can, be converted into a proper lead. So this, when someone fills this in, I automatically get emailed of it. I automatically have a follow-up scheduled for me the same day. Okay, that person, if it's not in the database, gets added. Okay, and if they are in the database, they get edited, okay, and linked to and added to the appropriate group. So I can look up all of them. Okay, so this is like really anyone with a website and act can use this. There's almost like literally no one can't benefit from such a simple lead generation workflow. Okay, and if you think about it, I'm sure most people, once they get their minds going, will think, well, I can start adding in these calls to action in many pages in my website. Anytime I'm introducing information, I can ask a question like, do you have questions? Anything else you want to learn about this? You can insert a form in there, and it's all you can eat. You can pay $15 and you can per month and make as many forms as you like in as many different formats and incorporate them in email signatures, in your website, in your social media, distribute them out via email in terms of surveys or whatnot, okay? But let's get back to this survey. So what I did, just gonna show you what it looked like. This was to the Keystroke team, and I said, okay, who is the most technical KPP? Who is the most generous KPP? The best-selling KPP? The KPP most likely to set their hotel room on fire, which is an inside joke because that can only be a McCandlish. Okay, and who is Ken's favorite KPP? You can see this was a bit of a push-pull because I listed Karen here, and Karen at the bottom. Okay, and then one improvement you'd like to see in the KPP. So a bunch of them submitted their responses, and now I want to analyze them because this isn't like a service request. This isn't like a follow-up request. I'm actually completing a survey and I want to see the aggregate results. So now I'm going back here and I'm going to click on show me the reports. Okay, so most technical KPP, Steve McCandlish, see the little award here? Okay, he got 9 votes. Alan Lee and Karen got 1 each, and they're all broken down here. Okay, most generous, it was a tie between Steve and Karen, all broken down here. Okay, best selling, most likely to set the room on fire. This was a tough one because some people said Steve, some people said his wife, some people said both. So this really kind of split the crowd. And then who's Ken's favorite KPP? I think this, as I said, I created a bit of a push-pull here. So Karen kind of bubbled to the top as well. So she made up for, well over half the results. Okay. So as you can see, this is really, really simple graphical representation. But there's going to be some stuff that really doesn't lend well to graphs, like the open-ended field. So if I want to see all the raw results, I can kind of drill down here. Remember I had that one question? Okay. And, one improvement you'd like to see, always alert the local fire department when the McCandlishes come in town. Certainly something we can implement, long overdue. Anyone but McCandlishes, you can see they're pretty popular. I know a great guy who just finished up working. Okay, we're going to leave that. Okay, higher commissions, of course. Make changes so Keystroke becomes a real company. Got some real comedians in the group here. Okay, so you can see how you can see all the raw data here. So even some of the free-form text that doesn't graph terribly well. Okay, and that's how the surveys work. So imagine, I'll tell you in a real life example that I did. I was recently, for the last 3 years, I was president of my my children's daycare. Okay, for the board of directors. So when I finished up my term, because both my kids are now out of daycare age, we held an election and we sent out an email to every single person that every parent of a child that was in the daycare, and we asked them to put in nominations, and then we basically created a ballot for each of the positions, for each of the board members. And then when we were done, we had the virtual board meeting, and we just showed them the results, and they were all presented in the graphical format like I showed you. It's just taking a minute, and we were able to say congratulations to all the winners. Excuse me. And everyone was really impressed with the technology. And when you see it in this kind of professional presentation, no one says, I demand a recount. Okay. So, or, wants to see the ballot boxes. So this is very, very clearly and professionally represented, and that lends credence to obviously to the results. Okay. So that is the what I wanted to show in terms of the history. I do want to, actually, I'm going to do one more thing. Okay, I'm going to go to Link2forms, and I'm going to show you a sample survey that I did. Okay, and view the forms. And this was a sample one where I incorporated a logo here, and I put in a file. Okay, and let's actually show you what I'm going to do Chris Huffman here. Chris Huffman, autofill, pretty good. Okay, I like ketchup, leave it at that. For dog, all beef. For buns, regular white. Okay, how many dogs have I eaten? I'm gonna say 1, okay. And now I wanna include a picture. I'm not a robot. Okay. Oh, I see. I can't use Chris Huffman again, so I better use myself. Because I said that this was going to be a survey and I wanted to prevent multiple submissions. Chris Huffman was already used in the test, so I'm going to keep the same results. I got to re-choose the file now. Okay. Okay, I say normally eat more than one. And now I'm not a robot. Now, as I said, unlike some forms, which are instant and it's great, it goes into the, the back end of the website, which doesn't have any, connection issues. This is going directly to ACT. So let's see what that looks like. I'm going to say look up. I'm going to say look up email address at kkc.ca. Come on. There's 2 of them. Come on. Okay. It's just taking a little bit longer. This is on our remote cloud, so there's a bit of latency here. Okay, here's the sample survey. So you can see all the results. You can see all beef wieners, so you get all the results here, but you also have this image here, which I'm gonna be careful here. Okay, it's opening up. So if someone had submitted a screenshot and I looked up their file, I can also see, unfortunately, it's loading Photoshop, which makes it a little slower. Okay, I can see the image there. Okay, so I just wanted to show you what including an image would do and recording it right to the history results. Okay, and allow, obviously, in the email, I can show you here. Here is my email. I can see the results included here. Okay. And that is it. That's what I wanted to present today. We came in just under the wire, so let's see. We got 2 minutes left. Let's see how we're doing with questions. Victor?
No questions, Kenny.
Excellent. Okay, well, I like it when there's no questions. It means that we did a pretty good job of covering most of the things that people wanted to see. I hope you guys found this useful. As I said, we will be emailing out the webinar recording on Tuesday, so look for that. We'll also be posting it in the website location that we listed. But if you guys want to sign up for a free trial, please do so. You can go to the Linktivity page. Okay, and click on My Account. Okay, well, it's still caching me here. Okay, but you can also say create trial and just create a 2-week trial for Link2forms, Link2Calendar, whichever. Next week, we're going to be covering Link2Events, where you can actually use our online feature to organize public events like this. Okay, and it will harvest. It will not only promote it and publish a sign-up page and do all of that, but it'll organize everyone, link them to the activity, create the activity, create the group, add everyone to the group, really makes easy follow-ups, automates a lot of the reminders and the post-event follow-ups. Really a nice feature that we spent quite a bit of time developing. And what it allows you to do is, instead of using really expensive, like GoToWebinar functions or features that can cost like $200 a month, it allows you to use the cheaper ones like Zoom or GoToMeeting that may cost anywhere from $20 to $30 a month, but use this feature for $7 or $8 a month more, okay, and bridge the gap that all those webinar upgrade services really the only extra thing that they provide, and still don't include the ACT integration. So you'd be paying many times the amount and still not having the ACT integration. So look for that next week. Thank you very much for coming out. We're right on time. I hope you enjoyed this, and look for your email on Tuesday with the recording. Have a great day.